Hi everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. This is the latest magazine from Simply Cards and Paper Crafts, and this is issue 162. Now this will be on sale on the 20th of April in selected supermarkets and craft stores. You can also get this from WH Smith's, or you can get the magazine or a subscription direct from moremags.com. With the magazine there is a fantastic free gift, and this is the Builder Bouquet, and this is outline dies and a stamp set. So you've got lots of variations with this particular gift. Inside the magazine you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to use your free gift. There's lots of other hints and tips and different masterclasses in there to show you various techniques that you may like to try. And this month I have some cards that are featured in there as well. So here's a few ideas on things that I've come up with using this particular die and stamp set. For this one I've simply used the goldfish, and I've dotted it with gold just to create the look on the fish themselves, and I've used them as a background. For this one I've used another set of dies that are available from Craftstash, and this is the nesting frames. So I've created a gold frame. I've used the flower die to cut out some Brusho crystalled flowers, and I've added a pearl to the centre. Now on this one I've used the jar at the bottom, and I haven't cut it out, I've simply masked it off and stamped it 3 times, and then once it was dry I've added some glossy accents to the top of it. But I've added the single flower into each of the jars to start with. For this card I'm going to be doing some watercolouring, and I'm using the Bouquet stamp. I've got some white embossing powder and some Versamark ink, but to make sure that my embossing powder only sticks to the areas that I want it to do, I'm just going over it with a non-stick tool. This is an anti-static powder that will stop the embossing powder from sticking to fingerprints. I'm using Gansai Tambi watercolours, and of course I've got my water and a brush. So with my Versamark I'm just going to ink up my stamp. Now this is a clear ink, so it won't show up on your paper, on your card. This is watercolour card, and I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out. So I've got one that's stamped in the middle there, and now I'm going to add another one along the outer edge, and the card that I'm stamping on is bigger than the piece that I need, so that's fine, I can always trim it down. So once I have enough patterns on this card that I want to do, I'm going to sprinkle this with some white embossing powder. So once that powder's been heated, you'll have a white pattern on your white card. It won't show up very much, but this is the area now that we're going to watercolour. I want to keep this card with sort of neutral colours. So the only colours that I'm using are the brown, this mustardy coloured one at the top, and this is a darker brown along here. So those are the only 3 colours apart from the green for the leaves that I'm going to be using. So now I'm just taking a little bit of water onto my brush, and I'm going to wet the first flower. And then once that flower is wet with one of my colours, and it doesn't matter which one, as long as it's not green, it doesn't really matter which one you use, because we're going to mix them all into the painting. So we'll just dot some of this, it's like a tan brown in there, and then I'm going to clean the brush. Take up a little bit more clean water and pick up this mustardy colour, and then I'm going to dot this into the ends of the flowers, and that just gives a two-tone look to your flowers. So with the same mustardy colour I've gone into a different area of the flowers, and I'm just adding in a little bit of paint to the wet portion of the flower, and I'm going to just spread that colour out to the edges of the petals. Now clean my brush and find another area, another flower that I want to colour, and again I'm just adding in a little bit of the water to each of the petals, and we'll go for the darker brown this time. And again I'm just going to dot some of the colour into the wet portion of the petal, and then I'm going to dry my brush off, and we'll take some of that water off and add just a little bit more colour. And then we'll go to the tan colour this time, and I'm going to add that to the ends of this brown. So now you can see that we're getting two-tone colours, two-tone petals in our flowers. So I'm going to carry on doing that to my flowers until I've completed this whole portion, this section in the middle here, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do the leaves. Here we've got a nice close-up of the different colours in the petals, and now I'm just going to use some of the green into the leaves, and I'm going to do all these leaves pretty much the same way. So I'm just following the outline, and the white embossing powder is keeping the paint in the area that you want it. So once the green leaves are dry, I can just go in with a little bit more paint and just create some shadow around the edges. And that just gives a little bit of shape to your leaves. You can dry your brush off and spread it around so that there's no harsh lines. Now what you need to do now is do exactly the same as you've done to this group of flowers to all the other groups of flowers, and that will give you a really pretty look for your cards. Once you've completed all the card with your watercolour, you can then just splatter the card with some extra paint, and this is my finished one, and I've just added this onto some gold card. These are the layers that I now need to make my card. I have a 5.5 by 7.5 base card, and I've matted wood grain and my floral piece onto some gold card. But from each of these gold pieces I've taken the other piece off first, because once this is matted and layered, nobody will know that there's a hole underneath that. From this gold layer I've taken a circular part for my sentiment, and I've added some foam to the back. So I've added these layers together with foam pads in between, and I'm going to add a sentiment to the top. My ribbon just sits along this side, which is this piece, and I've added single foam pads along there and a single foam pad to add the sentiment to this ribbon part. But the two outer pieces have got double layers of foam pads on it, just to raise it up and keep it level on the card. And now I can add all this to my base. So there we have a really pretty card that stays away from the pinks and the blues and uses a more neutral colour scheme. Change out the sentiment and that card could be for any occasion. Here's another look at the magazine, and don't forget this will be on sale on the 20th of April. Inside there are lots of hints and tips for you to follow, with step-by-step instructions on how to use the free gift. And this is Build a Bouquet outline dies and stamp set. These are just some of my ideas on how I've used this particular stamp set, and I hope you've enjoyed the making of this card in the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.